All right, everyone, and welcome back to the Duck Zone. Another wonderful week in sports. I'm Sean. This is James. Thank you all for being here. And the Olympics are done. So this is going to be a little bit of an Olympic recap and kind of a intro into the fall. Football's around the corner. James, what did you think of the Olympic Games? I know we're going to jump right into basketball, but what are your thoughts overall?
I thought it was great. I thought France put on a great show. I watched both the opening and closing ceremonies, and super unique. Definitely had a French twist, a French flair, but it was a quick but fun. I thought 2 weeks or 16 days, 15, whatever it is. But I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's always fun. It's amazing how quickly it goes by. It's like it's here and then it's just gone. And then it's we were talking right before this. It's just like, yeah, now I miss it not being there. It's like it filled in a lot of gaps, especially in those morning times when there's like nothing live anyways.
Yeah, that old adage of like the older you get, the quicker things go by. As we start to get older, it really takes a hit on me now. I'm like, oh my god, like everything seems to go so fast. And then I think of like our parents, or even like I'll talk to my grandmother, and it's like, how fast does time seem to go for them? Because that was like the fastest 2 week Olympic period I've ever experienced. But
Yeah, it went and it came and went in a blink of an eye. It felt like. Um, well, let's jump into the USA. They tied for the most golds, had the most silvers, had the most bronze. But let's jump into probably the most popular sport, basketball. The men's team end up beating France in the final. Curry had his big shining moment, I would call it. That was one of my biggest takeaways. But what was your biggest takeaway from not only the final game, final four? What was your takeaway from the men's side?
I mean, you can't not talk about that final and not mention Steph Curry. But I mean, hats off to the France team. I thought they played their asses off. Gershon, however you pronounce, Umbasele or whatever his name was, the guy who looked like Ben Wallace. That guy was a force. I mean, that guy. I remember him in the NBA. He was kind of pudgy. Obviously, he didn't do much because he's not in the NBA anymore. But the way he played throughout the entire Olympics, he might have played himself into a contract to come back to the NBA. But overall, I mean, the first thing I have to say, like I said, hats off to the French team. They're going to be around, especially because Wembenyama is only 20 years old. So it'll be interesting to see where the U.S. goes 4 years from now in L.A. But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. I won't go into that. But hell of a kick in the ass, I guess, for the U.S. In that Serbia game. I mean, we almost didn't even have a USA France matchup. So the fact that they were able to come back from, I think it was down like 13 in the fourth
15
quarter.
down.
I
15
mean,
down.
15.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just overall as a basketball game. You couldn't have asked for a better men's final.
Yeah.
So, and then you touched on Curry. That I don't know. You can't put words to that. It was like it almost didn't seem real. Like everything he threw up, literally threw up, was going in. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was great game.
I mean, I think it was something nuts. I think it was what last two games he shot 60% from 3 point range. I mean, it's just nuts.
Yeah, he had like
It,
60 points in 2 games.
yeah, it was just like this is just absolutely insane. And I know you were saying we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but it is going to be interesting moving forward because what's this team going to look like in 4 years? You can pretty much guarantee at this point LeBron James probably is not going to be around. Steph Curry probably not going to be around. Kevin Durant also probably not going to be around. So the big three that really uplifted this team, those three are not going to be there, and we're really going to see for the first time in 20 years the next generation. So it's like we're doing that passing of the guard again, and it's just like, okay, who's gonna be the guy? Is it gonna be Anthony Edwards? Is it going to be, some of these guys that haven't even made the NBA yet, like a Cooper Flag, one of those guys? Um, who's going to be that guy that takes over the step? Because the funny thing is the big change that's happened in the basketball world for the first time really ever is the flag has been passed on to players that are not American born. It's been Giannis. It's been Jokic. Um, those are the guys that are now holding the flag of we're the best in the world. So, and it was fascinating to watch that Serbia game. Serbia was 100% in control for 3 quarters of that game. Jokic was the best player on the court. And even though players, you know, 2 through 7 were probably all American, 1, 8, and beyond were Serbian, they were still winning.
Well, and don't forget about Bogdan Bogdanovic. He had a hell of a game,
He
and
did.
I
Yeah.
couldn't
Yeah.
help but laugh when he drilled a three-pointer and gave the Carmelo
Yeah.
Anthony celebration. So,
Yeah.
and he's really, honestly, probably the next big player behind Jokic. I know Misic plays for the Hornets, so obviously an NBA player, but I mean, other than Jokic, the biggest name would probably be Bogdan.
Yep.
So,
He gets money. He gets paid in the league. Yeah.
yeah. But as for like the next gen, don't forget about Jason Tatum too, because even though he didn't play that much, he's what, maybe 24?
Yep.
So he'll be like 28 maybe at the next Olympics. So I'm not quite understanding. I don't quite understand why Steve Kerr didn't play him. He's kind of in a weird. I shouldn't say he's in a weird position, but he plays the position of where LeBron, Durant, so he was behind some obviously big name dudes.
I
It was a
saw it
little
more.
questionable on why he didn't play,
I saw it more of a
but
rotational
yeah, no, he
problem.
is.
He's really good. It was just more of
Right,
it just because of the other guys on the team. He was the guy that was just kind of the odd man out.
right.
It
Well,
wasn't
and
like a
Tyrese Halliburton didn't play, but you kind of figured that wouldn't happen. He'll be
yeah,
a part of the team in 4 years. I think this is more of like a kind of sit and view and
yeah.
like see what you get to do in 4 years from now. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like, are we going to bring in guys like John Morant, Zion Williamson? You mentioned Cooper Flag. I mean, there's a lot of guys. Jalen Brown, or is he exiled from the team forever? Like, who knows? I mean,
Who
there's going
knows?
to be a ton of positions
Yeah,
because you figure like Anthony Davis, I would imagine will be back. Bam will probably come back, and then guys you'd mentioned earlier, Anthony Edwards will probably be a starter. Devin Booker, I would imagine, would probably be a starter.
well,
So
even
it'll be interesting. It'll be
yeah, it'll be interesting
yeah.
to
Go
see
ahead.
who's. It'll be interesting to see who's still around, and yeah, I love the Instagram that came out of Halliburton that said when you do none of the work and still get an A on the project.
Yeah,
I
that
thought
was
that was
great.
great. So, but we'll move forward really quickly. Let's talk women's. Women's team also won. That seemed like a much more struggle of a final. Granted, everything up to that spot was really easy, but the final was tight. What did you think of that?
From a betting perspective, going into each game, I would have thought the men's would have won by more. I think men's were like minus 1,600 to win. Or excuse me, I would have thought the women would have won by more. I think the men were still minus 1,600. The women, I don't know what the spread or what the money line was, but from everything I've read and the team that I've watched, they were just like killing teams. And again, another USA France matchup. Hats off to France. Hats off to Gabby Williams. She's American and her mother is French. So she's able to play for France, and she had a hell of a game and literally missed out on tying the game by, what, inches with that last prayer of a. I guess I shouldn't call it a three because it wasn't a three, but that last shot she put up, she missed tying the game by 2, 3 inches. It was like the Kevin Durant shot when he was on Brooklyn in the playoffs. But yeah, France just stifled the USA, and A lot of bad turnovers. Asia Wilson had a really good game, but again, hats off to the French. They were playing really good, strong defense against the U.S., but the U.S. were able to pull it out by one. So yeah, double gold.
Double gold there, and yeah, it's going to be one of those things of the women's game is catching up across the rest of the world now. It's kind of like how the men's game was. It's how it was 30 years ago. They're kind of in that same phase now, where the rest of the world's catching up. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens in 28. I think the women's probably need to bring in a better showing because the rest of the world is catching up. And even though they won and a lot of the games were they dominated. There was a lot of sloppy play throughout the U.S. women's side, in my opinion. It wasn't like this is clean. It was pretty ugly at times. Um, Want to jump into soccer?
Let's do it.
Yeah, go for it. I know you were watching. Another one that the USA took home the gold in.
Yeah, that was a fun game. Brazil, it was basically a sending off of Marta for Brazil. She came, I don't think she started the game, but she came on either late first half or early second half. But as you all know, 1-0 win for the USA. Um, Sophia Smith scored the winning goal. She's a part of the what did they dub themselves? They were on Good Morning America or or it was an NBC show, but Triple Espresso, that's what they called themselves. Um, Trinity Rodman, Sophia Smith, and Mallory Swanson. But Sophia Smith had a goal, ended 1-0. But I mean, the talk of the town, at least from what I've been reading, is Emma Hayes, the new coach we've been talking about. I feel like the past 3-4 episodes. So I mean, to come in June, take over this team, and then immediately just win a gold medal. I mean, couldn't ask for a better start for her as a head coach of the U.S. women's team. So yeah, it was fun to see the next wave of players because this team, as we've mentioned, is a lot younger. They're missing Megan Rapinoe had her send off game within the last couple of years. Alex Morgan wasn't picked for this year's team. Um, yeah, so it should be. I mean, they look like they're back into their dominant U.S. women's selves, and
Yep.
also Alyssa Nair, another couple really really massive saves. Brazil easily could have tied that game multiple times, but Nair had some. She put her mitt right on the ball at the perfect time. So hats off to the U.S. women. Another gold.
Perfect. Yeah, and they should probably continue to be good. They're getting younger. They seem refreshed in this tournament compared to the World Cup in 23. This seemed like a very fresh, loose group, and it was good to see. Um, Something that
Yeah.
was not so good to see, and something we will not see in the 28 Olympics. What breakdancing? What was that? I mean, the
That was
breakdancing
so bad.
that was a misfire. I mean, that will never happen again.
Yeah, I don't really understand what the point of that was, but I watched the gold medal match. I guess I don't know what you call it, match. It
Yeah,
was all right, but overall, like, I don't. How does the scoring work? I didn't know when they messed up. I don't know enough about. They should have done more of like a intro to breakdancing to then lead us into it. And then also, why was it occurring on like the last day of the Olympics? It's like it
I don't
started on
know.
Friday. The Olympics ended Sunday. Like,
It was the
very
weirdest thing.
strange.
It was very strange. I don't know. But all right, so moving forward, football has started. We're in the preseason. We've seen some quarterbacks play well. Um, we know a lot of people will be evaluating the rookies, but how much do you take into weight on what happens in these 3 games here in the preseason for these rookies?
I don't think there's much to take in. I mean, I think some of these practices when they go up against each other, which I think is also kind of strange. I don't. The NFL wants to limit injuries and extend the lives of these guys mentally, physically. So then why are you having practices, inter squad practices? You know, like the Cardinals are going to be going to Indianapolis to have a practice against the Colts, and it's like every year that this happens, it's like fights break out. People are punching helmets. People are throwing stuff. It's like just practice against each other. You know, save the big hits for like the actual preseason games. We don't need fights and letting your anger out on another team's player because obviously these guys are like, well, tempers can flare at any time. You could always hit your own player in a practice, but if I was playing, it's like, well, shoot, why hurt my own player when I'm practicing against some other dude on another team? I'm just gonna take it out on him and hit him as hard as I can. But I don't think there's really much to take away from the preseason. A lot of the quarterbacks had really good weeks. Caleb Williams, Penix, ironically, had a really good game. I don't know if that really matters because, I mean, they paid, what's his name? Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
You have to play. I mean, he has to start, right?
Yep.
Like, you don't pay Kirk Cousins that much to sit the bench. So,
It'll be
Bo
shocking.
Nix had a really good week. Yeah.
It'll be shocking if Penix sees the field this year.
Oh, no, he won't. He won't. Unless Kirk Cousins gets hurt,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I don't know. Or they're just really bad. I mean, Atlanta, they have a lot of good skill position players, but yeah, you don't bring in a quarterback for the amount of money they paid Kirk Cousins to just have him back up Penix or sit the bench. So, I don't, especially because it's preseason week one, I don't think there's anything really to take away. Maybe next week or this coming week, and then maybe preseason week 3, depending on what starters play. But it's really just about getting your reps in and trying to get on the same page. At least that's what I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. It's just kind of like exciting to see football playing again, but following the box score, things like that, not really. I mean, it's just kind of like it's nice to see
I mean,
football playing.
you're seeing backups go up against backups. So you're not going to see that in the regular season. So why does that matter? Or you see guys like, not to, keep harping on the Cardinals, but Desmond Ritter, playing for the starting for the Cardinals since Murray's not playing all preseason, is going up against the New Orleans Saints backups, and it's like, well, if Murray gets hurt and Ritter has to come in, he's going to be going up against the number one, the number ones on the
Yeah,
defense, not the number twos. So the fact that he can't even do anything against the number twos,
yeah,
uh, why does that matter?
yeah. I mean, it's really backups jockeying for positions on the rosters. I mean, and this is one of the first years, unless I'm missing something, I've completely forgotten about something. I think we've got all 32 teams. They already know who their starting quarterback's going to be. We don't have any team right now saying, "Oh, we're in a quarterback battle." And there's the years where there's maybe a team or two that has that going on, and it's interesting because it's like, okay, is it this person or this person? Last year we had it with Baker and Tampa. I don't think we have any of that this year. I don't think there's a single team that even has a quarterback battle going on right now. I think everyone knows their position.
Maybe
Like everyone's
Denver.
pretty.
Do we know who Denver's quarterback is?
I mean, it's Bo Nix, and if it's not Bo Nix, they're
So
deciding not to start him because he's a rookie, and it's that at that point it's probably already been announced and it's already a known thing. Um, and I'm guessing it is Bo Nix because they drafted him at 8. They probably said, "All right, you're probably good to go, so let's go."
yeah, I mean that would make sense. I mean Jared Stidham and I think Zach Wilson are there, but
Yeah,
Jared Stidham's been in the league long enough. It's like he'd really have to show out. And Zach Wilson, obviously, we know
I
about
mean,
Zach Wilson
I mean
with the Jets. So
the thing with that one is by regardless of who starts week 1, we know who's going to be starting by week 6. Bo Nix will be starting by week 6.
right,
That is just how it's going to go.
yeah, I mean they very well could go with a veteran maybe to start the year, but yeah, like you said, like
Yeah,
they're not going to draft Bo Nix that early to just not play him, or
yeah,
at least I would think.
yeah. So, all right. Well, outside of that, is there anything else, James, you want to cover before we launch off here?
The AP rankings came out today for college football. I don't know if you were able to take a look at them at all, but
I didn't see that
anything
actually.
stand out to you?
No. What
I'm
does it
looking at
say?
them right now. What does what say?
What's the rankings? Who's won?
Oh, I'll give you. What do you want? Like top 10 or something?
Yeah, give me top 10.
So Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas at 4, Bama at 5, Ole Miss at 6, Notre Dame at 7, Penn State at 8, Michigan at 9, and Florida State at 10. You know what? I'll give you Missouri at 11 and Utah at 12 because that's what is it now that this year is going to be
Yes,
12 go into
that's playoff. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Nothing that really surprises me. Football starts in
No, it
2 weeks,
looks
2.5 weeks.
yeah, it seems all pretty standard to me. My Arizona Wildcats are 21. I like that.
Yeah, makes sense. All right.
But I won't jump too far into it because I know we have a couple preview shows for college football coming up. So
Yeah, we'll jump right on into that. So here in a couple weeks, not too far away. So, but I'll say that, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching the whole way through. And until next week, a lot of football coming. See y'all later.